Welcome, everybody, to a brand new Reddit League season. I'm joined today by Calamity
Hi.
and Radox,
Hey guys.
and we're going to preview the new season. Division by division, the very first chance I get it wrong. But we'll break it all down for you and take a look at week one fixtures. So let's just get right into it. Here is the Division 1 players. Calamity, can you tell us a little about what has changed from season 1?
Yes, sure. 7 of the players that are in Division 1 currently are retained from season 1. The 3 new guys are Comte Bilou, Schluri, and Kevin Kroner. And there are 2 people who got promoted. Actually, wait, there's 2 people who got promoted from Division 2, which are Chicago, Geoguessr, and Equinox. So we'll see how well they'll do in their first time in Division 1.
Nice. Radox, any thoughts about Division 1? It is worth noting that the champion is not here this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's a little bit unfortunate that Topotic cannot join us for this season. But I mean, it's also even more interesting now that we will have a new champion. Yeah, I guess, some of the favorites remain the same. I would say Kostar, also known as Simi, is definitely one of the favorites. Verdok can also be very good because I think he's very good in if it's country specific with a lot of pinpointing. So but also the newcomers, some of them are not so well known, like Kevin Kroner. It's going to be interesting to see how they do.
Yeah, as you can see from the division table, the top 4 players will go into a playoff for the championship. The bottom 4 will go into relegation, the bottom 2 into certain relegation, and the 7th and 8th place will go into a playoff for the 3rd place relegation. So let's take a look at the fixtures for Division 1 Week 1. The map will be North Macedonia. Calamity, any interesting matchups that you see?
I think the first one that I thought that came to mind is, of course, Simi versus, or Kostar, as his Reddit name is, versus Raidman Mucha, which is the only matchup that where both contenders were part of Division 1 last season. But there's a couple of interesting games as well. I mean, Schluri and Comte Bilou, both newcomers to the division, and also both European, so that might be interesting considering we're playing a European map. But yeah, it'll definitely be interesting.
Yes, Kostar was 2nd in this division last season, so for Raidman Mucha, definitely a kind of a rough first week to start out with. Radox, any thoughts?
Yeah, I also think Comte Bilou and Schludi is quite an interesting matchup. 2 new players that came in very strong. But this time, what is going to be very different from the preseason is that there it was all world maps. And now we're going into a full country map. And this is going to change a lot. But so it's yet to see that those newcomers are as strong as they are on world maps if it's also a country map.
Indeed. So we'll get to the map selection for the season later on, but the Reddit League challenges players not just on a diverse world or world map, but on individual countries or sometimes states and regions. So you have to have very specific knowledge to help you out. You can't just know that you're in somewhere in France and it'd be good enough to get you, 4,000 some odd points. So definitely a real challenge. Okay, with that, let's head on to Division 2. As you can see, the setup is very similar to Division 1, but there are 12 players. Again, the top 2 players automatically get promoted. 3rd and 4th place go into playoff. and the bottom 2 get relegated with 9th and 10th into a relegation playoff. Calamity, your thoughts on Division 2?
I think Division 2 is especially interesting because it's basically filled with well-known players. There's not a single one of these players that I don't recognize from challenges on the subreddit or different kind of Geoguessr leagues. So it can definitely make for very exciting and close matches. And it's also like a pretty strong league in general.
So who is the new players and so forth, the promoted and relegated? Can you cover that for us, Radox?
The new players are Benica, Mr. Blue GG, and Yellow Skarmory. They also did quite well on the preseason. And the promoted ones are Aistaru, Seppo, and Slovak Goalie. Yeah. So gonna be very interesting. Like, for example, Aistaru had a very good season. I think he almost won every game in the head-to-head matchup. So gonna be interesting to see if he can do that again in Division 2.
Very nice. Okay, moving on to the fixtures for week 1 in Division 2. Calamity, any interesting matchups?
Yeah, the most interesting matchup definitely has to be RC versus Stymphalics, also known as Giovanni, because they both got relegated from Division 1 in this last season. So that's basically the star matchup of week 1 for Division 2.
A very interesting matchup to put in week 1. The organizers looking to start off the season with a bang. Redox, you're in this division. Any thoughts about the fixtures in week 1?
I have to agree that this is the most interesting matchup. But other than that, I guess Mr. Blue against Slovak Goalie, both having success in Division 3. So we're gonna see who can start off with the win, unless it's a draw. Who can start well into Division 2 and who not? Who can't,
Yeah, that is worth mentioning that this season there is a little bit of a rule change that if your total your score for the week is in the top, was it 20%?
50%. So the top
50% of your division, you get a bonus point if you lose, as to kind of give you a little bit of a boost rather than being all or nothing. So that'll be interesting to see how that changes the standings this season. Rule changes always throw in an interesting twist. Okay, well, with that, let's head on into Division 3. Again, this division has 12 players. Again, just like Division 2, top 4 working towards promotion, bottom 4 towards relegation. Calamity, who are our newcomers and what has changed in this division?
The newcomers are... This is the first division where we've got 4 newcomers and not only 3, because a lot of the people who were not promoted or relegated last season didn't retain their spot for this year. So only 2 people actually played in Division 3 last year as well, which was me and Porksteaks. Newcomers are G. Whaler Wizard, Hugo Alvara, I. Jubak, and M. The Baseman. Whereas Freckles, Wolf Tracker, and Redirect got relegated from Division 2. And Theos, Vakoloch, and MD Spaceman got promoted.
Nice. So, Redox, any thoughts on Division 3? Lots of changes to this division.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see. This is like the first division that there's some names in that I don't really know. So it's much harder to predict. But I think Freckles, who got relegated, could be doing really well. Wolf Track, I could really see going up again into Division 2. And Calamity, I think he has improved quite a bit, and he has been quite unlucky last season. So I accept him to be, also on the top. But it's really hard to imagine how those newcomers do. And also the promoted people. Yeah,
this was the division I was hoping to get in, but my last preseason match was not that great, so it kind of probably cost me my place. But Okay, so let's take a look at Division 3, the fixtures for the first week. Anything stand out to you, Calamity?
To me, definitely, even though, no, wait, yeah, I got my players a bit mixed up there, but yeah, definitely Freckles and Wolf Tracker. We've got the same situation we had with Radu and Giovanni in Division 2, both people who got relegated for last season. So, and again, both people from Europe, so maybe they're gonna have an easier time with North Macedonia than someone from America would. It's also quite interesting that out of the 5 Americans, only 2 of them face each other.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the odds of that happening are, kind of interesting, but I'm sure they'll face each other many times. But yeah, Calamity, how about your own matchup? What are you
yeah.
thinking?
I don't know too much about Wakoloch, including his pronunciation of his name. So if he's listening, he could maybe give us a hint on that. But I've recognized him from a long time ago. He's been playing Reddit challenges for a while, and he's definitely not a player to underestimate. But I still hope that I can beat him.
Nice. Yeah, he is one of the promoted players from Division 4 as of last season. So that should be interesting to see how he does in Division 3. Radox, your thoughts?
Yeah, the other matchup that could be interesting is M the Bassman, pork steaks, maybe. I saw, what's his name? It's, yeah, just M the Bassman.
I think it's Michael
He's
or
been,
something like that.
yeah, Michel or something. He's been a little bit active in the community, I think. And so I think it's very willing to improve. So could be interesting to see how he does against the established players like Porksticks.
I think Hugo Alvara is our only South American player
Yeah, could be
from
right. Yeah.
Chile. So that'll be interesting to see how he does representing the Southern Hemisphere a bit. Okay, well, then let's take a look at Division 4. For this season, Division 4 has been split into 2 separate groups. So we'll have a look at Division 4A to start with. These divisions only have 8 players in each. Calamity, tell us about this division.
There's a lot of new players generally, not only for Division 4A, but also for 4B. Half of the field actually is new. The one player who's new to the 4th division, who also played last season, is Nidnarok, who got relegated from Division 3, unluckily, because he didn't play his relegation match. Anans, Max FI, Patriots, and you, Zotomo, are new to the league.
Yep. Yeah, I'm in Division 4, but probably fair. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I honestly don't know how good my country knowledge is. We brought it up earlier that you have to be good not only in the world maps but specific countries, and I don't too often play specific countries other than my few of my favorites. So it'll be an interesting challenge for me to take on some of these new countries and smaller kind of maps where every kilometer means a lot. So good. Redox, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's definitely going to be hard to predict. I expect Nidnarok to be at least in the probably somewhere around the top, but other than that, yeah, it's hard to predict. I'm also curious about how you will do.
Thank you. For Division 4, just the first position player will get automatic promotion. The other 4 go into what I believe is a playoff in combination with B. So there's going to be 3 promotion spots for Division 4 as a whole. 2 automatic places for the top of each A and B, and then the next 8 will battle it out for the 3rd spot. So it'll be quite a playoff with 8 players fighting for 1 promotion spot. So let's take a look at the opening week fixtures for Division 4A. Calamity, any thoughts?
I think Mabos and versus Patriots could definitely be an interesting matchup in the American Derby.
Mm.
But yeah, other than that, I think Neusel Max could also be quite interesting. And of course, Nitnarok will look to make his first step to getting back to Division 3. What's also quite interesting there is he's playing against Lenovo Sachs, who's played in Season 1, but he's yet to pick up a point. So he will definitely try to get that first point on the board.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it looks like is it Anna NZ and I will have somewhat of an Asian derby. Not exactly the same country or very close to each other, but about as close as it gets in Asia. So Radox, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that matchup of NINC and yourself could be really interesting. I've seen NINC play a few times in, I think, some of the leagues going on, and so I've noticed him or her. I don't know. Maybe it's Anna. Yeah, could be interesting.
Yeah, what threw me off was it had NZ in the name and then it was an Australian flag. And so I was like, wait a minute, I had to double check to make sure I put the right flag on the image because
Yeah,
the name was throwing me off a bit. But no,
maybe
it is Australian. So
yeah, maybe it's not Anna.
yeah. So very nice. Okay, and then we have Division 4B, Calamity.
Again, 4 new players here, which are Closed, Ed Boris, H-Town, and Papagato. I can definitely... My personal favorite for the division is Deepfought, who was with me in Division 3 last season, and he made a very strong impression on me in country-specific maps, where he did very well. New Zealand is the one I have in mind, where he, I think, even got the best score in Division 3. So he's the one to watch out for me.
Yeah, he is, along with Stefan 1986, one of the 2 players relegated from Division 3 that are in Division 4B. Redox, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm also curious about H-Town, how he will do. He recently competed in the co-op tournament as well, which is it's a little bit harder to play than the normal Geoguessr where you are alone. So yeah, I'm curious to see how he can improve over the season. And yeah, I also think Deep Thought got some surprising victories last season. So I think in Division 4, he should be doing quite well.
Okay, very nice. So let's take a look at the fixtures for week 1 in Division 4B. Calamity, your thoughts?
Because I've not pointed either of them out so far, I'm quite interested in the match between Ed Boris and Closed for their game in North Macedonia, because, again, both of them are players I've seen around quite a bit in the last few months. Closed, especially in different types of leagues in Geoguessr, and Ed on the Geoguessr Discord. But yeah, that's my matchup for the week to watch out for.
Nice. And Radox, your take?
Yeah, it could also be interesting to see how Steven does now that he's been relegated against the established Division 4 player GRH77. So yeah, this could also be interesting.
Nice. Okay. We have one last thing to cover before we're done. Let's take a look not just at week 1, but the maps our players will be playing throughout the season. There is a map seed for Reddit League in terms of a kind of map you could play in every week, and then each season has a unique map within that classification. So, for example, week 1 is a European map, and in this year, we have drawn North Macedonia. Calamity, can you break down some of the other maps our players will be playing this season?
Mm-hmm. We start division week 2 with Brazil, which is going to be a very interesting map as well, because I think a lot of people will have to learn the area codes to really improve their chances there. Then we'll be going to our first worldwide map with a rural world. And then we're going to take a step over to Asia, where we're going to be playing Kyrgyzstan. Again, maybe people will have to learn Cyrillic for that one. So we've definitely got a lot of things to study in the breaks you have between the maps. And in week 5, we're going to be doing Pennsylvania, which is our US or Canada state, before we go back to another world map in a balanced world for week 6.
Nice. Redox, can you take it from week 7?
Yeah, from week 7 on, we have Lesotho, an African country that's also not so big, so it's gonna be very pinpoint heavy maybe, unless places are not findable. Then we have Sweden, European country that's quite large, a little bit different to play there. Then we have a worldwide map, which is, we don't have too many of those. That's gonna be interesting. And then we go to Puerto Rico, which is an island that's going to be very pinpoint heavy, I guess. Very hard for people who are not the best at pinpointing. And we finish off in Malaysia, which is another harder country, I think. And then we move to that's the regular season.
The playoff maps have a little bit of a different system to them, and they haven't all been determined yet. What is really interesting to point out is how many small countries have been selected this season, with North Macedonia, Lesotho, Puerto Rico, right? Those don't give you a whole lot of room for error, not to mention Pennsylvania is not exactly a large area. So that'll really test our players in terms of not just finding a general location, but almost you need to have the city or the road to do really well in those kinds of maps. Is there any maps you're looking forward to in particular, Calamity?
I think maybe less looking forward to, but I think some of the countries that are going to be very interesting are Sweden, because a lot of Swedish locations are in the forests in the middle of nowhere, where you're going to have a very tough time to find useful signs. So that map could definitely throw a few curveballs in the matchups, depending on people getting unlucky or lucky. And yeah, I'm also quite interested in especially the smaller maps, as we said before, like of course North Macedonia, but also Kyrgyzstan could be very interesting because there's not a lot of coverage there. So yeah, it's gonna get down to a lot of how much did you practice for those maps.
Nice. And Redox, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to Brazil and Pennsylvania. Those are kind of areas that I'd like to play. In general, the first half of the season, I kind of like all the maps there. But the second half with Lesotho, Sweden, Puerto Rico as an island, Malaysia, I better do well in the first half, otherwise I will have a problem, I think.
Yeah, it's interesting that we have Brazil in week 2. Brazil is not exactly one of the favorites for most GeoGuessr players, along with Russia, for giving them very hard to find locations in massive countries. So luckily it's a little earlier on. Maybe it won't be the deciding map for many matchups, but it could come down to who does better in a map like Brazil even. So I wouldn't rule that out completely. All right. Yeah, so that'll do it for us for week 1. We'll be back after everybody has played their week 1 matchups to cover how everything shook out in the opening weeks and highlight week 2. So we'll see you all next time. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.